Hi everyone. Today is Wednesday, October the 25th, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. We continue to see pressure coming from underneath, and remember, that's where buying pressure comes from. It doesn't come from above. It comes from underneath. Selling pressure comes from above. So buying pressure comes from beneath, and we've got 3 days of low, high, higher, low, higher, high, and now a higher low. So last night, after the close, we had, what do we have? Google and Microsoft and a few other movers and shakers. And Microsoft is up very nicely. That's going to look really good for our butterfly on the call side. Google is down, also beautifully, but not quite enough for it to make some kind of dramatic difference. So we will just pull the long puts off and then leave the short puts to expire worthless, and we'll see how that goes in the early part of the morning. But for us taking a look at the SPY, we can see that there is pressure building, still an undercurrent. People do believe that the Bank of Japan is going to come out with some other kind of yield curve event. There's a lot of stuff going on in currencies right now. Let's see where the dollar is. I'm going to check one of my other charts. The dollar is on its beautiful rampage to the north. Yeah, and that rampage to the north, we need to see the UVXY change direction just a little bit in terms of the dollar. We've got things very, very wishy-washy. Okay, so things to look at from SPY. I didn't give us levels because I was yammering. All right, levels that we want to watch for. Listen, this area at 421, very key. Came down there yesterday. We were in the middle of our midday Zoom, which we will not have today, remember, because I'll be in flight. And we got a bounce that was fairly dramatic, right? Went all the way up to 424 and is now sitting at 422 after a pullback that has held the low. All right. Now, upward formations, we're looking at 424.50, 425.70, 427.44 on the upside pressure event. On the Qs, we are looking at maybe 356 as a floor, 358 as the first resistance test, and then 360 to 360, maybe 361, moving up for that space. Remember, once it hits the floor of these areas, you're going to have to start letting the chart go if you're looking for long. Or if you're convinced it's a short, remember, this big formation says indeed it is. So the very high bounces into the 360 areas, 362 areas, are going to give you those openings to short. Don't try to do that beforehand unless you're scalping. Taking the short on the break of a low after a series of higher lows, I'm not really sure that's the best idea either. I would wait and then allow it to retest another broken resistance before continuing to the downside, because I see a lot of buyers sitting underneath. All right, so here we are, same sort of thing, low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low. Now this formation is a little bit messier than SPY's, and so let's think about it. 42.43, still the baseline. We're still making higher lows, and we want to stay above this 42.59 to 42.61. So far, we're doing it, right? We're at 42.62. But we opened and then tried to move up and have faded all morning. So we faded into a higher low, and now we're trying to recover. So my suspicion is, as long as we hold this area, pullbacks up this area 42.50, pullbacks are going to be buy zones. All right? And then we're going to look at 42.80 and then 42.97, 42.92, excuse me, and then maybe 42.97 up at the top here, right? But that is the ledge that's showing resistance. If buyers turn around and become, if sellers turn around and become buyers, then that's going to have a reflexive event that really could go up to 43.15, 43.20, 43.30. All right, taking a look at the NQ. This one also is a little bit cleaner. Still an inside candlestick. We have inside candlesticks all the way around. What are we waiting on from the news? Let me take a peek and see what we've got going on today besides earnings. We've got a PMI composite flash that is at 9:45 Eastern, Richmond Fed, and then some bill announcements in terms of auctions. Okay, so yeah, money supply at 1. I think that I think we're going to be sideways to up, really. So the deep dips, you're going to see buyers, right? If it comes into 14,700, I'm going to be looking for scalp long. And if I don't immediately begin to recover, I'm going to get out. All right, because that's going to bring us down to 14,650 and then 14,585. All right, let's take a look at oil. Oil, lovely. Look at this bounce off of 83.35. Very nice. Bouncing up at 84, but again, this is one of those charts that looks very news-based and very reflexive. And so easily we could have a bounce. My thought is, you know what? It's holding 83.35. Anticipate long action. So watch for a fade that tries to test the opening tick at 43.85. And then, keep your eye on the fact that 43.30 has got to be that floor. All right. And if you feel that's too much risk, try the mini or the micro, and you'll be in better shape. Upward draft into 85 potentially, and then potentially 86.14. All right. Lastly, we'll take a look at gold. I think gold is 3. Continuous contract here. Holding fairly nicely. Came into 1964. Let me double check that this is the correct gold contract. Yes, it sure is. Take a look at what's happening. Lower highs, lower lows. So I still suspect that the bounces here are going to give us a resistance zone. All right, that's it for me, folks. Look at those edges, pause the recording so that you can get your levels up properly. And remember, current candle and 2 candles to the left is how you're going to frame out what you're looking at from a bigger perspective. If, per happenstance, you say, hey, I want to do something like a 1-minute chart, you want to look not at the first 3 candles per se, you want to look at the entire range, and you want to look at the last places that traders came in and tried to hold the level and failed. Those are going to be the regions that you want to take your positions, all right, for a short or for a long, but they must break and hold. And see, here's what this is doing. Low, high, lower low, lower high, lower low. That tells me that I've got bounce actions that are going to be into resistance. All right, so you want to be very, very careful with that. Take care, everyone. See you on Thursday.